So thanks again, Bill, for coming on our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host, Matt Camp, the head of partnerships with DealMachine. And on these, we really like to shine a spotlight on experts in the real estate investing world and really kind of help hear their stories, inspire the audience, educate the audience on what they've learned. Today, we have Bill Allen, CEO and owner of Seven Figure Flipping, where he helps lead the top house flipping and wholesaling mentoring groups in the nation. You're a real estate investor in Nashville. Your team currently flips and wholesales over 200 deals per year in the Tennessee area and then in Northern Florida. And you've also built a systematized business that can really run without you and has begun to show other investors how they can do the same. So really excited to have you on and speak to you a couple challenges, a couple exciting things that you've learned along the way. Outside of that bio, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about your story and really kind of how you've got to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, Matt, thanks for having me. This is gonna be fun. My background is in the military. I was an engineer in college, did ROTC, and I got commissioned in the Navy. So I flew for the Navy, active duty for 15 years, and I'm still in the reserves part-time. COVID's kind of put a damper on that a little bit, but hopefully I can get back down there in January and start flying again with the students. So that's kind of my background to give you an idea as an engineer and the way that I think a little bit. And while I was in the Navy, we got married, had our first son, and I had a couple rentals as I moved around with the Navy. So that started to make me some money, but I realized I had a couple more mouths to feed so I needed to figure my stuff out. So, and I just wanted more time. Like I was deploying from time to time, and I just saw this newborn baby and I thought about like 6 to 8 month deployment, and it just wasn't exciting for me. So I wanted to figure out something else. So I started kind of researching house flipping. And I bought a house and fixed it up, and it was going to turn into a rental, but my realtor said, you could sell this and make some money. I made $45,000. And after that, it's like half my salary in the Navy. So it was really exciting to make that in a few months. And so I was like, well, could I do more of this? Because I was doing it on the side while I was active duty. And I did. And then I started realizing that you could kind of build a team around you. And I was doing one deal a year, trying to figure out how to get to like 10 or 12 a year, 10 or 12 flips a year. And I just couldn't. It took me 6 months to do that house, and it took me 6 months to find the next one. I just couldn't figure it out on my own. So I actually found this company, Seven Figure Flipping. I joined the mastermind group and got around people that were doing it. And they kind of showed me how to hire people and outsource some stuff and systemize it so that I could be at work and things could be happening. And I just didn't have to do everything myself. And so I think that's a big problem that we have in the beginning is we think we have to do it all ourselves, and we're not willing or able or confident enough to outsource some of those things. So I was able to do like almost 70 deals the next year, from like 1 a year to 67 the next year while I was flying full-time for the Navy. Then I did 135 after that, and I was still flying full-time for the Navy. And I built a team of like 10 or 12 people at that point. And that's when we had a son who had a heart condition, needed surgery. We moved to Nashville and kind of pulled the plug on the active duty military side and went into the reserves. And that kind of is where we are now. He's almost 4 years old, or he is 4. He just turned 4 in October. So we've been, doing that for 4 or 5 years now, part-time in the Navy, raising our kids. We got 3 little boys, and just running a couple businesses now. I actually bought the Seven Figure Flipping company that you mentioned from my mentor about 1.5 years ago. I've been running that. And then my COO runs the real estate company, Blackjack Real Estate, full-time. So I don't do very much in that company anymore, except make some strategic changes, adjustments, big raise money, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I having three little boys. That's a handful. I've got three little ones myself, 2 boys and a girl. But I know as you kind of put yourself around the right people and learn from others and kind of shifted your mindset to be able to scale, at that rate. Looking back on that experience, are there any things right away that you try to advise newbie investors who maybe are in that stage where they've done, 1 or 2 deals themselves and they're trying to think ahead and understand how can they set themselves up for a scalable success like that?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I'll recommend to anybody, especially you've done a deal, like I think that first deal is so hard to do and hard to get. Like when you can get over that from 0 to 1, once you've done that first one, it's a very quick move up into the big leagues almost. Like you get the confidence, you understand that it's possible, you see it, you can do it, you know it. And so I think that before you've ever done a deal, it's really important to go out, take action, and just not really worry too much. Like don't overthink it. We overthink it, overanalyze it. And I know it's easy for me to say we've done 700-800 deals at this point, but I remember what it was like when I was driving around going like, this direct to seller thing, it doesn't work. I don't know how to do it. It's not possible. And then I just happened to drive into an estate sale. I saw a sign for an estate sale. I was about to give up. And I saw that sign. I had my flight suit on. I was driving home from work and I was like, well, I heard somebody on a podcast that bought a house from an estate sale. And I drove in there and talked to the people, ended up buying it, flipping it, made $43,000. That was my second deal after working with the realtor, right? And so it's like, that's possible, but you just got to go. Like you just got to act, take action, and go. Once you've done that first, second, third deal, things like that, you got to start getting around people who lift you up and don't hold you back. And so what I realized was I was around the local meetups and REIAs and stuff like that. And the top dog in there was probably doing like 5 to 10 houses a year, and I could see bigger than that already, even though I was only doing 1 or 2, but I feel like it was very competitive in nature. It wasn't really like, I'm going to be your friend, I can help you, those kind of things. And so I really recommend everybody kind of like find their tribe, find the people that lift them up, that they feel comfortable with, the community that they want to join, and go figure out how to grow and do the things that you want to do. Like, don't let anybody hold you back or say you can't do that stuff. Like, surround yourself with the right people. And that's my recommendation to those who are doing like 1 deal or 2 deals and trying to grow a little bit is once you see it's possible and you can believe it, game over. Like it's the doing is the easy part. It's the belief that's the hard part. That's the hard part. And when you see other people doing it and it's right there and you can kind of follow their path, then it makes it really easy. It was a big price tag for me. I paid $25,000 at that point, and it was scary. Like I was like, I don't really know if these guys are credible. What do they have? But then in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm just made $45,000 on this house. I can take half of it and put it towards this as an investment and write it off on my taxes. So it's really only like $15,000 or $17,000. So that's kind of my way of thinking. It was more of an investment in myself. And it might sound selfish because I own a mastermind group now, but I might not be the right fit for everybody out there. And I totally see that. So go find your tribe, like your community and the people that you get along with and you want to be with, and let them help you, like lift you up. They're going to reach down and pull you up. So that's my recommendation. For number 1, take action if you're just getting started. And then get that first deal under your belt and get some confidence. Even if you don't make any money, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I mean, I think we definitely have people listening right now that are in that stage of having, landed a deal and are looking, can see ahead, like you said, but we also have plenty of people who we're trying to advise them on, hey, take action. Like that's why with a lot of the content we put out for DealMachine in general, it's like, hey, just get out there and start driving around and start looking for a deal, like you did. So, yeah, I mean, I think for more of those newbies that are just getting started and just starting to take action, you told me before that really like, yeah, there are a variety of different ways you can, put out bait, have different marketing channels, that kind of stuff. But where the fish are is really the important thing. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more on that and where people should get started when they're getting out there looking for that first deal?
Yeah. So I love to fish. So the reason when we talked before, I talked about fishing is like kind of the way that I think about the stuff, right? If you think about it, most people that are getting started don't have a lot of money. So you either fit in this time or money bucket, the way that I look at it. So if you don't have any time and you don't have any money, then you're going to struggle in this business. I'm going to tell you right now. Like you got to have some time. Like Matt said, just driving around, taking pictures of houses, loading them up in DealMachine, sending them postcards, right? Or you got to have some money. So you might just dump a bunch of money into marketing to bring in, like, cast a really wide net. So most newbies and people that are just getting started usually fall in the I have some time, but I don't have any money bucket, or don't have a lot of money. And so what you want to do is just be really selective about where you target inside of your area. So instead of casting, like, if you think about it like fishing, like let's just take a lake, for example. There's a bunch of fish in the lake, but there's like honey holes inside of each lake, right? Where you know that if you've ever been out on the ocean or out on the lake, there's like 10 boats in one area, and then there's like none over the rest of the lake, right? Like they know what that bottom contour looks like. They know that they're at a certain, maybe a wreck or a reef out in the Gulf or in the Atlantic or Pacific, right? Out fishing. But they know something about that area, and you do too. Like, you know where people are transacting. So there's lots of ways to find out, like maybe just 2 or 3 zip codes in your area that the flippers and landlords are buying a ton of houses, and there's other areas where they're not. So you could actually look at that stuff and just target maybe a couple zip codes, and make that your farm area. So make your farm area smaller and just go really deep in that area. If it's transacting, don't just pick any zip code out of nowhere. Pick the ones where the most action is happening. So what I see a lot of flippers and wholesalers do is they say, there's too much competition in the zip code. There's so many flippers and wholesalers working in the zip code that I'm going to go over to this other zip code where nobody is, and that's going to be my area. I think that's a huge mistake, because it's like being the fisherman that loads everything up in the boat and says, there's 10 people fishing over there. I'm going to go over here where nobody is, and I'm going to throw my line in the water and just see what happens. And it's a big mistake. Those 10 people are fishing over there because it's really good over there, and they wouldn't be there if it wasn't good. And so the flippers that are working in that really hot zip code are working in there because there's a huge demand for housing, and wholesalers are working in that area because there's a huge demand for off-market properties. So think about that. Like, I remember one zip code in Pensacola specifically that I said, I'm never going to go over to that zip code because I don't want to buy houses in that area. I wouldn't flip a house in that area. And I was wholesaling some at the time. And we make almost half of our money in Pensacola in that one zip code now. So and if I ran the numbers and looked at it, that is the one area where the majority of landlords are buying. Flippers don't really work there, but there's a ton of landlords that buy there. There's a lot of rentals. It's like 60, 70% rental property over there, and just really hot area for rent and great returns. So keep that in mind. I think when you're marketing and doing things as a newer investor, is it's okay if there's some competition over there. All you need to do is get one or two of those deals. If there's 100 houses that transact in there every few months, you only just need to get one or two. And so just getting a small piece of something that's really active is easier than going and trying 10 different types of baits. So people will just shift marketing channels and marketing methods and all these different things every couple months because nothing's working. It's probably because you're fishing in the wrong area.
Yep. Great tip. Yeah, I think it's super important. Like you said, it can be almost counterintuitive for people to think, oh, it's too competitive, I shouldn't go over there, there's too much competition. But yeah, like you said, go where the fish are congregating. So
and another thing is look at some of the bigger players. A lot of people get concerned, like these guys are spending all this money, and if I send some postcards, then my postcard's going to be on top of 15 other postcards. Well, look at the competition and try to figure out what they're not doing, or maybe you can do whatever they're doing better. And so as a little guy or gal, like a small company, a lot of times you can beat the bigger companies to the punch. You might be able to get out there faster. You might be able to take the call and leave the dinner table and run out there when it takes us 2 days to get out and see the property. And you might be able to sharpen your sales skills. You might be able to have a better call to action on a card or a letter, or you might door knock because they're not door knocking, or do more niche type stuff, or driving for dollars. Like, we're not doing that. So there's lots of ways to do that stuff and make sure that you're getting in front of people that the bigger companies aren't.
Love it. As you're kind of, starting to get in the groove there and landing those first deals and starting to think about scaling, for kind of that intermediate to becoming advanced investor, do you have any advice there on how they can be thinking about building a team in a profitable way and building a team, in the right way, where I know you guys have gone through and scaled and been through a lot there. So I would love to hear your thoughts on how to think through staying profitable like that.
Yeah, I've seen this a lot. Like, we have a ton of investors that come into 7-figure flipping, and they're doing like 10 or 15 deals a year, and they want to get to 100 or more. And they just go out and hire like 5. They come in and they're like, oh, this guy's got, 12 people that work for him in this great company. And sends me his accountability chart, and I know exactly who to hire. So I'm just going to go hire all of them and build that company from scratch right now. That's a problem. That's a real challenge. Like, I think you need to responsibly grow and scale, and let your profit grow your company, basically. And so what I did, fortunately, I had a full-time job with the Navy, and so I didn't need the income from my real estate business in the beginning. So I actually didn't pay myself for a year and a half. And so a lot of people hear my story and see, like, you grew from, one deal to almost 70 deals, 135, then we did like 187 the next year. And when you look at those numbers, you're like, wow, that guy grew really fast. But I dumped everything back into the company to grow it. And then it took me like 2 years before I pulled my salary. So I paid myself a salary, filled up my 401k, all that stuff. But I put it on paper and kept dumping it back in the company. And then when I had the money, I pulled it out. But I also only hired one person at a time. So my recommendation for anybody who's kind of like, maybe you're doing it all, maybe you're doing 5 or 10 deals a year, and you want to get to 20 or 30, you want to grow and you want to scale and you want to build a team, is to grow organically, and also realize that your profit margins are going to go down when you bring other people on. Like you can't, we could probably talk about this for an hour, but when you're flipping 5 houses, or let's just say you're flipping 1 house at a time for ease of math, and you want to go to flip 2 houses at a time, you're in the mindset that I'm going to go from flipping 1 house at a time to 2 houses at a time, and I'm going to make more money, and I'm going to pay myself more money. But as a flipper, what happens is you take the money from that first house and then you go buy 2 more. And you're usually like dumping the money in and not pulling the profit back out. Mm-hmm. And so then you're growing from 2 to 4 houses at a time, and then maybe 6 houses at a time, at 8. And then you're like, where's the cash? Like, where's the money? Like, I'm doing more. I'm making more money. Where is it? Well, you're growing your company. Like, you're growing the equity inside of your business, right? And so you're like, think about the grocery store. The grocery store, the only way to liquidate and take all the money is to sell all the things on the shelves, right? And be completely bare. Same thing as a house flipper. You got to sell all your inventory and not buy anything else in order to make that money, unless you're using 100 to 110% of other people's money for everything that you do, right? And then you can look at your balance sheet. So all this to say, you need to grow and scale responsibly. So let the profit grow and hire that person. So get to the point where you're like, you know what, I need some help. Like, I'm getting to the point where I'm getting maxed out, or I'm getting close to it. Then bring on that person who can help you with the things that you need to do. And then let the company grow a little bit more. And then bring on the next person, mm-hmm. and then let the company grow a little bit more. And so let the demand, like let the company hit the demand signal. So get to the point where you're like, you know what, you're kind of like, I'm not sure if I can afford it, but I need the help. Like, that's really the time where you probably need to make that next hire, and start expanding. And don't miss the bottom line. Like, don't forget about the net profits. Don't forget about paying yourself. Don't forget about all of that stuff. So on the other side of the coin, I also see people who pay themselves $15,000 a month and wonder why they can't grow their company. You know, it's because, and the reason I grew so fast is because I dumped the money back into the company and I scaled it with my own cash, and very responsibly, 1 person at a time. And so that's my advice to people is, number 1, it's really scary to hire somebody. So that's normal. So if you're freaking out and scared, like, so was I didn't want to hire anybody, and we were responsible for anybody. And now I'm responsible for like 40 people in two different companies. And so that's normal. And then the second one is just grow responsibly. Like, just take your time trying to scale a ton. Like, don't go hire 5 or 10 people at the same time. It's just not smart. And also, you need to realize that when you bring on people, your profit margin could potentially go down, and it will for a while, and hopefully it doesn't stay that way, but you really need to watch it. Watch the bottom line. And as you start to grow and that starts to change, look at that. Like, say, like, why is this happening? What's happening? Like, I hear so many people say, well, I'm gonna buy this service, or I'm gonna hire this person. It's just one more deal, and it's just one more deal, and it's just one more deal. So I'm gonna buy this $10,000 a month thing. It's just one more wholesale deal. I'm gonna buy this other 10, and you said it 50 times in a month. Well, now you need to be doing 50 more deals that month. And so it's very easy for the expenses to start growing and start eating all the cash from your company. So we use a system called Profit First. You guys are probably familiar with it if you're listening. That book by Mike McCallowitz, it's great, and it's really a good way to make sure that your company drives, like, the growth drives the like, the bottom line drives the growth, basically.
Yeah. So we're on the tech side, and we also subscribe to that as well, that line of thinking. So well, it's phenomenal. I don't want to take up your whole day, Bill, but this was fantastic. I appreciate you giving really actionable advice, both for the newbies trying to just take action and getting out there and making that first deal happen, all the way up to, people seeing traction and starting to think ahead and how to do that responsibly. So any other parting thoughts there, or would love to hear your thoughts on how people can follow you, how people can get involved, how people can connect with you from here too?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like, a lot of people talk about scaling and growing, and just realize you're trading your time for money. So, like, I wanted my time back. I was willing to I make less money now than I did when I got started. When I was doing 70 deals a year, and it was like me and 2 other people, I was working all the time, like 2 hours before work, 3 hours after work, basically every weekend, all that stuff. I was putting in the time, and I wanted to buy my time back. So my profit margin went down as I started to grow and scale and things like that. We did more, but I got my time back, and I was able to go do some other things, or spend more time at home, or do different, like be my own boss, leave the military, not have to worry about that stuff, all of those things. So just keep that in mind. Like a lot of people want to like get their time back and make a ton more money, and it's possible, but you really have to keep an eye on that. Don't be, just be realistic about that stuff. So scaling, there's a lot of conversations between, should I have a company that does 200 deals, or should I have a company where it's just me and maybe one other person, I just do 12 or 15 deals? And I think you just really need to figure out what your lifestyle is going to be and what you want. And there's people out there that have a great lifestyle business and they only do a couple deals, but they're involved in all of it. And there's other people that have a bigger machine that aren't involved in that much, and their profit margins might be lower, but they're still making a couple $100,000 a year and just kind of not working that much. So, and you do work when you try to find people, hire people, have to fire people, do all that stuff, and jump back in. When somebody leaves, you're the one that has to jump back in too. So definitely pros and cons of kind of both areas. So just find what fits you. And I'm not here to say any one way is better than the other. We've grown and scaled a business, and then we started scaling back a little bit this year. We probably won't do 200 deals next year. We'll probably, like wholesale and flips, we'll probably do 60 or 70. Something like that, like 3 to 5 a month is our plan. So, and just do some more commercial deals and some more land development and stuff like that, just getting into a little bit different stuff. So that's my parting words is you figure out what you want, and you're going to hear a lot of different people doing a lot of different things, and, figure out what's best for you. And that might change over time. And when it does, just, I have something downstairs where I have it on my whiteboard. It's hypothesize, test, and pivot. Somebody told me that one day, and I absolutely love it. I just hypothesize what I want to do, test it out, and then if it doesn't work for me, we pivot into something else, and then just repeat the cycle over and over. Yeah. So I don't know, you can find me at sevenfigureflipping.com. I have a podcast called 7-Figure Flipping, and we have Instagram, social media, Facebook, that kind of stuff. It's at Bill Allen REI.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bill, and really appreciate your words of wisdom here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. It was fun.
Thanks.